Hello and welcome to The Crime Reel. Today's case was suggested to me a few months back by a subscriber called Amazing Grace. They had a personal connection with the Mullen family, who are at the heart of this story. When I started to look into the case, I was surprised by how little coverage this shocking murder has received over the years, and how the perpetrator would ultimately go on to have a political career, his violent past unknown to his constituents. In August 1962, soon-to-be 15-year-old Hazel Mullen was working a Brown's chemist shop on St Stephen's Green in Dublin when she met the man who would become her first and only love. Shan Mahangi was a second-year student at Dublin's College of Surgeons. He was in his early 20s and had moved from Natal in South Africa to Dublin in 1961. Within weeks, the pair were in love, and by Christmas that year, Shan was spending most weekends at the Mullen house in St James Lodge, Shankill, where Hazel lived with her widowed mother, Bridget, and her 5 siblings. Hazel, who was also a part-time model, and Shan were reportedly besotted with each other and were soon talking about marriage. Her mother, Bridget, said that Hazel was far too young to be getting engaged, but gave the pair her permission to date as long as Shan took care of her daughter. Bridget had warmed to this polite, courteous young man. However, she refused permission for Shan to give Hazel an engagement ring, and when he asked if they could get engaged when Hazel turned 17, Bridget said to him to continue his studies and we will see. Hazel was a quiet girl who, now aged 16, began working in the Bank of Ireland in College Green, Dublin. On Saturday, the 17th of August 1963, Hazel had a half day, finishing work at 12:30. Some friends recall waving to her as she walked along Grafton Street. That evening, Hazel's brother, Desmond, together with his girlfriend, Heather Malcolm, visited Shan in his flat. Hazel was not there. Shan told Desmond and Heather that Hazel had called him earlier that day to say that she was going shopping instead of visiting him as planned. Shan, Desmond and Heather ate a meal of boiled rice, chicken and liver, which had been prepared by Shan. He lived in a flat above the Green Tureen restaurant in Harcourt Street in Dublin. He also worked at the restaurant part-time as a chef. Shan was nothing like his usual self that evening and was quiet and distracted during the meal. He left Desmond and Heather twice to go downstairs. Once was to open the restaurant and let the staff in, and the second time was to get milk from the basement. On both of these occasions he was away for about 15 minutes each time. Earlier that day, a fire had been reported at the restaurant. When the fire brigade arrived, they had found Shan naked to the waist and sweating profusely. He explained to them that there had been a minor fire which he had managed to put out. The fireman looked around to ensure that the blaze had been extinguished and then left the premises. Sometime later on the evening of the 17th, Bridget phoned Shan to see if Hazel was with him. He told Bridget that she had not been at his flat that day. Bridget had become concerned for Hazel's safety. Shan drove Desmond back to the Mullen home and the family contacted the police. The following day, the police began searching for the missing girl. 2 officers visited the Green Tureen, searching the flats and the basement. The officers noted that the premises was strewn with rubbish, but otherwise appeared empty. As the search continued, the landlord of the building, Cecil Frew, noticed a bad odour coming from the drains. Cecil attempted to clean the drains, but his efforts failed to get rid of the stench. He decided to have a talk with Shan. This chat was strained, and eventually Shan admitted to killing Hazel. Cecil went to Harcourt Street police station and informed the police of what Shan had said. When they arrived back at the Green Tureen, the door to Shan's flat was locked. Sergeant James Connell could smell gas and forced his way inside, where he found Sian lying unconscious on the floor. A thorough search of the building led to a grisly discovery. Inspector Matthew Kennedy discovered a dismembered body in the basement of the restaurant. A human hand and forearm was hidden behind a sheet of plywood in the cellar. Other parts of human limbs were found. The head, which was initially missing, was found burnt beyond recognition behind a grate. The body had been cut into 12 pieces. In an adjoining cellar, the police found a carving knife and a cleaver. Sian was taken to St Vincent's Hospital for treatment, where, upon regaining consciousness, he became hysterical. It was established that he had taken 4 different types of drug before turning the gas on in his flat and preparing to die. Upon his discharge from hospital, he was immediately taken to the police station, where he was arrested and charged with murder. 18-year-old Desmond Mullen had to identify his sister's remains. Due to the level of destruction of Hazel's body, the newspapers reported that points of his recognition included her ears and teeth, the shape of her fingernails, and a burn mark on her left wrist caused a few months earlier. An autopsy concluded that she most likely died on the 17th of August, although her exact cause of death could not be established. It is believed that Hazel had in fact gone to meet Sian when she finished work that day, and when she arrived at the restaurant, the pair went to the basement where Sian killed her almost immediately. He then spent most of the afternoon dealing with her body before continuing to work at the restaurant. At an initial hearing, it was made known that in the statement following his arrest, Sian had said that Hazel had told me that she had something to do with somebody else. She said it was sex. I thought she was different, something special, but she was a mere disappointment to me. Going on to say that I got hold of her and put my hands around her neck, and before I knew anything, it was the end. I panicked and ran upstairs. I came back down and I saw that she was dead. I cut up the body and hid it. I was jealous of Hazel and I wanted her all to myself. I was afraid to face the general public, as everybody speaks quite highly of me, and I was ashamed to show myself, so I decided to dispose of myself. He also went on to claim that he went mad when he heard what she said and never had any intention of hurting her. Sian was committed to trial, and the following February wept in the witness box as he was asked questions about Hazel's death. The prosecution reinforced that immediately after killing Hazel and dismembering and burning her body, he had entertained her brother with a home-cooked meal, joined the search for Hazel, slept in her bed in her family home, and cooked a meal for her mother, all whilst remaining self-assured and calm. After jury deliberations of just 3 hours, he was found guilty of murder at Dublin Central Criminal Court. At that time, the death penalty hadn't been abolished in Ireland, and a murder conviction automatically resulted in a death sentence. His execution was set for the 18th of March 1964. Shortly after his sentencing, it was announced that he would appeal. In May that year, the Court of Criminal Appeal in Dublin quashed his murder conviction on the basis of wrongful admission of evidence related to Sian's behaviour before Hazel's death. Although the details of this were not fully reported, a new trial was then ordered. By June, a retrial had been completed, whereupon Sian was found not guilty of murder, but guilty of manslaughter. The jury had found that there was no intention to do serious injury or kill, and that the attack had occurred in a sudden fit of jealous rage. On the 16th of June 1964, he was sentenced to 7 years in prison. He served only 4 of these and was then deported back to South Africa upon his release. Then, on the 21st anniversary of Hazel's death, 17th of August 1984, a report appeared in The Guardian. Sian Mahangi, who now went by the name of Naramtuk Jumuna, was now a successful businessman and had become a South African MP, with many of his constituents being unaware of his violent past. Upon hearing of his political career, Hazel's mother Bridget said, "I bear no grudge and wish him well." Her son Ian added, "Not only have we forgiven Shan, but in our view, God has forgiven him." In an interview with RTE in the 1994 series Thou Shalt Not Kill, Shan said, "If I had one wish, it would be to bring Hazel Mullen back and undo what was done, but that is not possible." In 2009, he made the news yet again when it was reported that he was standing for re-election as an MP. When confronted, he initially denied being an election candidate, but when challenged on the subject of Hazel Mullen 46 years earlier, he said, "That was a long time ago. Why the hell do I have to declare now? I don't have to declare anything. I've been a Member of Parliament for a long time." He subsequently had to withdraw as a candidate. That concludes today's story. Please leave any comments down below. Thank you once again to Amazing Grace for suggesting covering this case. Thank you for listening to The Crime Reel. Stay safe. Goodbye. Psst. There is a book on this case written by Kevin Higgins. It's called Shan Mahangi, 95 Harcourt Street. Goodbye.